We asked 3 men from different dialectical backgrounds to talk about language. This map of linguistic imperialism shows which countries were colonized by whom and what languages they spoke at the time of their colonization. Today, as a result of the linguistic imperialism that comes with colonialism, all 3 men speak English as their primary language. We have Jason from New Zealand.
Hi.
We have Sam from Zimbabwe.
Hello.
And we have Brandon from America.
What's up?
Strictly speaking, accent refers to all of the differences in pronunciation between one variety of language and another. Dialect refers to all of the differences between varieties of a language, those in pronunciation, word usage, and syntax. How does your dialect reflect your identity?
Well, I guess with my particular accent, it identifies the region that I'm from, my family, the culture.
Well, I guess in African American vernacular, I'm not really a fan of that term, but the way I see it is more of a language of the inner city, and that's even though it's not really where I was raised, that's where my family's from. That's where my family is. So it is a language of the inner city, and it's spoken by people that are not just black, Mexicans, white people, anybody that's really kind of raised in that environment relates to this way of speaking. So as far as me, it's a way for me to connect with my people and my cultural heritage.
Well, basically, I suppose my accent kind of stems from the history that my country actually has, being a British colony from before, and hence the English language in Zimbabwe is very much influenced by the Brits. So it's a little bit of a confused accent, if you'd call it that. Zimbabwean / the Brits, and that's the mix. So it's got a lot of history behind it, I suppose.
What other languages are spoken in your home country, and for what purposes?
Well, the native language of New Zealand is Maori, so that is taught in school. We learn how to count, basic vocabulary, a lot of songs, folk songs. So there's a lot of history there because it is the native tongue. And over the years, there's a lot of immigrants that have come that other languages have come in, but it's predominantly English with Maori.
Brandon, what other languages are spoken in your homeland and for what purpose?
Yeah, well, it's a little bit different for me. English, being United States, English is the language that we speak. But it's just a more adaptive form of English. I mean, like I said, other cultures use the vernacular as well. So for other cultures that come in with other native languages, it might be a little bit more relevant for them. But yeah, good old American English.
Basically English is the more dominant language in Zimbabwe. Everyone pretty much speaks English, but we do have the local languages. South of Zimbabwe, which is about a quarter of the whole country, they speak Ndebele. For example, saying hello, we would say Ncholinjani. And then the rest of the country, we basically speak Shona, and which would be Makadi, for saying exactly the same thing. But everyone pretty much speaks English, like before the British influenced English, but everyone pretty much has their own either Shona or Ndebele speaking, or a bit of both.
Dialects can vary widely in the syntactic rules they have, and sometimes, even in these days of mass communication, speakers of a language may have problems with some parts of a dialect they're not familiar with. However, that doesn't mean we speak different languages. We just have to tweak our own dialects a bit. What allowances do you have to make in your current environment to compensate for your dialect?
Well, there's certain words that I have learnt American English, so that when I speak, Americans understand me. Otherwise, they get a little bit confused and don't understand what I'm trying to say. So I've actually picked up a lot of American English words that I have to use to compensate.
Do you find that you have to speak more slowly and more clearly?
Yes. Yeah, the faster I speak, especially on the phone, people just get lost. Yeah.
Well, when it comes down to being professional and when you meet new people, especially people that might not be familiar with the culture you're from, I gotta kind of take care that I don't use a lot of slang, things that can be misinterpreted. It's really important that I try to just speak in a way that I know everybody will understand, regardless of where you're from. So, but if I'm with another group of people that we share the same dialect, we use a lot different words. We say things different ways. Same words, we just use them differently. So as far as that's concerned, it's just making sure that I'm not confusing people or making people feel uncomfortable because they don't understand what I'm saying. So I think that's the biggest thing.
Well, me, like Jason, I think a lot of times I have to sort of over-enunciate, pronounce my T's, pronounce my R's, pronounce my S's, just to get, just a single word across. And sometimes I literally have to speak slower, use a lot of gestures, just to get my point across. Otherwise, it just goes over their heads, and people kind of pretend like they're kind of following, but you can tell that they have no idea what you're talking about. So I try to always, have extra things going on just to kind of help get my point across. A lot of pronunciation, a lot of gestures, I suppose.
People often misinterpret what speakers of other dialects mean. Name these items silently to yourself as the pictures are shown. Listen for the lexical differences.
That is a beet.
Beetroot.
It's a beetroot.
It's chicken.
It's a cock.
It's a chook.
It's like a cantaloupe.
Yeah, cantaloupe.
Rock melon.
Bell pepper.
Bell peppers.
Capsicum.
Icebox.
Cooler.
Chili bin.
Ketchup.
Ketchup.
Tomato sauce.
I actually call it tomato sauce.
Tomato sauce. So what do you call tomato sauce?
You mean pasta sauce?
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Thumbs.
Flip flops.
Jandals.
Trolley.
Cart.
Trolley.
Elevator.
Elevator.
Lift.
Car park.
Parking lot.
Car park.
Shifting spanner.
Wrench.
Spanner.
One's dialect is an important part of one's persona, and changing it, as some people want to do for themselves and many want to do for someone else, is by no means as inconsequential as changing a sweater or a hairstyle. In real life, things are more complicated. As teachers, we need to be conscious of our dialects. We need to focus on screening out idioms, cultural references, and stereotypes. Now, idioms can provide a teachable moment, but we need to be conscious of them and we need to explain them if we use them. As Brandon mentioned in our segment on compensating for dialect, we need to strive to achieve an example of standard English in the classroom. Chika points out that it's not what is said, but how it is said, and she goes on to explain that when people say they want to know the right way to speak, they do not mean the right way to communicate their ideas, but rather the right way to announce that those ideas are to be respected. That's what we're trying to teach our students, and it's important that we model standard English so that we can do that for them, so that we can set the example. Ways to help make sure that you're understood in the classroom would be to use visual aids, modeling instructions, practice exercises, just to foster that environment of good communication and a positive learning environment, a good, safe place to learn, a happy place to learn, a place full of encouragement, and a good place to go each day.